Welcome to Flip Lesson 7.31. Today we really want to talk about reading and writing decimal numbers, really the correct way, not the way that society often names them. And what we're going to do as we look at this is we're going to understand that this is really an advantage to us as we think about these numbers. So we start by looking at our two fractions, or our fraction here. We have 7/10, right? And reading a fraction isn't too hard, right? We read the numerator and then we read the denominator according to its fractional part, because that's what makes it a fraction. And so we say 7 out of the 10 parts, or 7/10. But as we look at the relationship between this fraction here and this decimal, we would realize that they're really the exact same thing. And in the end, if I were to name them both using my words, I would say this is 7/10, and I would say this is 7/10. So I've said the exact same thing, even though they look quite different, because one is in fraction form, one is in decimal form. Okay. As we look at this, it helps us understand that this is what decimals really need to be treated as. They needed to be none of this point stuff or 0 point. We really need to think about them in connection to their fractional buddies. And when you do this, it really makes understanding these numbers much easier. All right. Go ahead and try this one. It says name the shaded part of this square. First of all, as a fraction. Second part as a decimal. All right. Now, I don't know how big this square is right here, but I'm going to let you know this is a 10 by 10 square. So hopefully that'll help you out a little bit. Moving on. From here we can understand place values. And we look at this chart here. We understand the decimal point helps us understand our place values. We know about ones and tens and hundreds and thousands and 10,000s, 100,000s, and millions. And the key idea is it ends in just an S. But then if we go the opposite way, of course, then we have tenths and hundredths and thousands. It's like a crazy little snake going on back here, right? And we continue to build. There's that S at the end, but we got that THS to help us understand. We have tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. And so it works in a very similar way to what we were seeing here, but now we're just going the opposite direction and we're adding some th in there, whatever a th is. But using that idea, then we can understand this idea, and you can answer this question for me then. What digit, I don't know why it says digits, there's only one. What digit is in the thousandths place? Go ahead and solve that one for me, or underline it on your page as you write it. Finally, we get back to the beginning when it comes to talking about these and writing these. If we were to take this number and say, okay, I want you to write it in words, if we say it the right way, we're going to write it the right way too. Oh man, all these homonyms. So I start with this idea. I can take my whole number and I can say 100 23, and here becomes the big thing. It's not point 1, 2, 3, but and. That's our key word, right? And if we look for that and, it can also help us in other word problems. And now we're going to write 100 23. Now we need to add one word because we go by our last place value, and that of course is thousandths with that at the end. That's my T. And so we have that idea that as we're working with numbers, we want to, if we speak them in the right way, it really helps us understand them better. Right? So it should be 123 and 123 thousandths. This relationship is important and helps us understand these ideas better. That's it. 31.